Hey everyone, David here from the 5 and Dime Upcycled Furniture Antiques and Accents, and here's the tutorial on the rocking chair makeover that I did. So the first thing I did was give it a good clean with White Lightning by Dixie Belles, and then rinsed it really well with water. Then came in and gave it a light scuff sand, but I actually didn't do too much of a scuff sand because I knew that I'd be using Slick Stick. And Slick Stick is your adhesion primer. And the way this works is you apply your first coat, let it dry for 2 hours, come in, do your second coat, and let that dry overnight. One of the biggest things I always try to make sure I do is flip a piece of furniture over when I can, so that I can make sure that I have gotten coverage everywhere that I need it to be. So at this point, I had already applied a couple decoupage papers and I just wasn't feeling it. It wasn't working out. And this is what happens when you're in the middle of a project, you change direction. So I came in with Dixie Belles Silk All-in-One Mineral Paints in Anchor, Nautical, and Whitecap and painted over everything. Just came in and gave it 2 good coats of this custom color, which turned out to be this beautiful heritage blue. And in true fashion, of course, I did everything in the wrong order anyhow. So next up was adding some detail to it. So came in with Roycycled Treasures decoupage papers in the Grey Queen, as well as the Queen Bee decoupage papers. And now I'm adding some transfers on top of it. I wanted this to have a very full regal look, so I wanted it to have a very eclectic feel to it. So I was just adding transfers on top of the decoupage paper and kind of in the wrong order because realistically the seat should have been one of the last things that was actually done. But there you go. I then decided to add some of the romantic florals from the Dixie Belles Bells and Whistle line, just in the corners, again adding just a little more detail to the seat. And here I am just burnishing it down, and then I'll come in with some saran wrap to really make sure everything is in place beautifully before I go on to the next steps.
Hey
At this
everyone,
point, I
Gator
decided I
Hide
would
and
also
Upcycled
add some
Furniture Antiques and
anaglyptic
Accents,
paper
and
to
I
the
am
back and the
putting on
headrest
a
of
fleur-de-lis
the
anaglyptic
chair.
paper
So
for the
this was
back
a
of the
fleur-de-lis
seat,
pattern that I got
and
off
in a second
Wallpaper
here I'm getting
Direct
husband
and just
to
ordered. They
hold it
shipped it
while
right to the
I
house. It
trace
was
it out.
fantastic.
I know it's not
So
going to be
here I'm
100%
just
perfect,
tracing out the pattern on the
but it
back,
will be pretty
knowing
close.
it
I can
won't
just
be
trim off anything
perfect,
that I need to
but at
after.
the same time it'll
So
have the coverage I need,
basically
and I
it's
can
trim it
sand
out,
off the
then
edges
obviously a lot
when
of cutting.
it's put in place.
So get the cutting done on this,
And
then
so I'm just going to do a
I'm
little
using
fussy cut
wallpaper
around
paste
it,
to glue
and then I'll
everything
be ready
down.
to apply it.
Brand I'm using for
And
this is
to
Dynamic
adhere
Clear Wall
this to the
Covering
back,
Adhesive,
I
and it
actually
works quite well.
used
This one's actually,
clear
when dry, is
wallpaper
clear, so if
paste,
you do
and I
get
found
any
it worked
excess
really
on
well
it, it's not
to
going
make
to
sure that
impact
everything
the
was
color
stuck
of
in place.
anything.
And this one was
So
a bit tricky
once this
because
is
it
all
did
put
have
in
some
place, there's a couple
grooves
grooves that I
and
need to work
insets and
around, which is a
everything.
little bit
So
tricky because the paper
took a
keeps
little
wanting
bit
to
of fussing,
lift.
but it all came
But
in play.
once it's dry, I'll do a trim and then on to paint.
I
Hey
also
everyone,
decided
David
that I
here from
didn't
the
like
5
the
and
little
Dime
cutouts
Upcycled
on the
Furniture
back,
Antiques and Accents,
so
and here
I
I am
wanted
up
to
at
add
my
some wood bend
weekend
molding, so
workshop
using Dixie
midweek,
Belles
mind you.
mud to fill in those
And
spots.
I decided I wanted to fill in the
You
holes in the
just fill
back of
it
the
in,
rocker,
and then make
and
sure you let
using
it dry
Dixie
really
Belle
well.
mud, I
And then
started
I'll
by
come back
filling in
and
as much
sand
as I
it
could
and make sure everything is
with
smooth as I need be.
my
Because
fingers
again, wood
actually.
you bend
Then
is
I
going to
moved
be
to
added to this
a
area. So
aeroplane
waiting for it to
card
dry, then
to
come
get
in
a
and
smoother
sand it
finish.
smooth. If
Once it's dry, I'll
necessary,
sand it
add a
back and we'll
second
see if I
coat.
need more.
Hey everyone, David
Whenever
here from
you're
5 and
using
Dime Upcycled Furniture
Dixie
Antiques and
Belles
Accents.
mud,
And now that
make
the mud
sure
has
after you've
dried
had it all
and I
sanded
gave it a
back
sand and
and
if
it's
it's white
dry,
back
that
with
you
a
come
tan
in with
cloth,
a
not a wet cloth,
clear coat
I'm coming in with Dixie
to
Belles clear
seal
coat in
it.
satin in order to seal the mud.
Dixie
Very
Belle
important
mud
step. If
will
you don't do this, the mud will
reactivate
actually
when you're
reactivate when
using
you apply
paint
paint
or anything
and
over
can
top
cause
of it,
issues
so
in
be
that. So
careful
very
of
important
that.
step is to
Seal
seal
it well
and
before you
then
move
let
on
it
to
dry
next
before coming
steps. So
in to
this
do
was
any other
sealed,
sort of finish on top of it.
let it dry,
With this part
and
done,
then
having
it
a
was
busy morning,
painted
I think it's
out,
time to go for a swim.
and it was
So
ready
I'll
for
chat
the
to you later.
next
Stay tuned
steps.
for the next steps. Take care. Ciao.
At this point, again, because I did everything in the wrong order, I put a seal on top of the seat to make sure that if any paint dripped down on top of it, that'd be easy to wipe off and clean up the seat a bit. So I'm just using Dixie Belles Clear Coat in Satin. Again, I'm using Satin because the fact is that because there's transfers down, you want to seal it well before you try to do anything like Gator Hide. So this was 2 coats of Satin Clear Coat by Dixie Belles, and then I actually did put 2 coats of Gator Hide on top of that after that had dried as well. Using a box cutter and some sandpaper, I just went along the edges of the seat back to make sure that the anaglyptic paper was in place exactly where I wanted it, and if there was any excess or hanging over, it was easy just to get rid of. Again, just using box cutter and some sandpaper, went through and got it all cleaned up. Adding the wood you bend is really quite easy. It's a wood composite product that when heated up becomes quite flexible, which means that you get a tighter adhesion to the surface you're putting it on. So for this, all you'll need to do is mark out where you want to place it, and then you will heat it up, and you can use a hairdryer, you can use a heat gun, you can use a griddle, and when it's flexible, apply glue to the back of it, and then come through and press it in place. Use your heat gun to set it again, and then use some tape or anything just to make sure that it's properly adhered. I also come in with a small artist brush that's wet to remove any of the excess glue that is seeped out. Let it dry well, and then come in and paint it out the color that you want. In this case, I should have probably painted it before I put it on there. You can do that, or you can paint it after it's in place. Doesn't really matter. I realized the crown was crooked after everything was dry, so I came back in with the hairdryer, heated it up to make it flexible again, and loosened it off, and then I added a little bit of glue on the back, and then put it back in place, again removing any of the excess, pressing it well into place, making sure it was straight this time, heating it up again, and there you go. It was done. Now that the wood you bend is completely dry, I've come in with the same mixed color, the custom color of Nautical, Anchor, and Whitecap, and painted out the wood you bend, making sure to get all the nooks and crannies and little divots that are in it.
Hey everyone,
So
David
I
from
came
Fine
in
Dime
to
Upcycled
seal
Furniture
this now,
Antiques
and
Accents.
using a little
And
tip I
am
learned
taking
from
Gator
Amy
Hide,
at AJ's Vintage
which I'm going to tint
Designs.
with my custom
I actually
color
tinted
to
my
give
Gator Hide
a durable finish to this
with
rocker.
just a smidge
So all I'm doing is just
of
adding like
the
literally the smallest
paint
amount
to
of
ensure
paint
that I would get a
into a
smoother,
cup that I
cleaner
poured some Gator
finish
Hide
on
into,
it.
and
So
then
just
giving it
came
a really
in,
good stir,
give it all a good coat
and
of
then
clear
you're good to
coat
go
to make
with
sure
applying it
everything
all
was
over.
done before I
So
could
because
move
it
on
has
to the
this little bit of a
embellishment.
tint in it,
Because the
it
next
just
step
helps to
was
cover
I
up
was
if
going
there's
to
any little
use
imperfections or anything like that.
Dixie
So
Belles, Gilding Wax,
literally
and
just
Gold,
going in, brushing it
and
all
that
over.
is your last
So there you go.
step.
Stay tuned for the next steps.
Hey everyone,
Using
David here from
Dixie
the Five and
Belles
Dime
Gold
Upcycled
Gilding
Furniture
Wax,
Antiques
I
and
came
Accents.
in and using
And
the little
now on to a little
border
bit of
stencil, I
decorative
came in into
finishing
the edges
for
of the
this
chair.
rocker.
And
I'm using
then
Dixie
on the seat
Belles
as well, I
Gilding
wanted to
Wax
frame
in
out the B
gold
so it looked
and
more
using
like a
stencil
stamp.
around the
So
edge of the
that's
seat.
really simple to do,
And
just using
on
a
top
small
to
artist
frame out
brush.
that
What I love
one
about
piece
this
to
is
make
that
it look
Gilding
more like
Wax
a
really
stamp
never bleeds
on
at
top
all.
of the chair.
So really
And
simple
then,
process.
after I've
I
gotten
then
that
came
part all
in
finished,
and
I'll
to
come
the
around
back where the
and
anaglypta
use it
paper
also
is,
on
I
the
highlighted the fleur-de-lis
highlighting the texture of
by
the
just
anaglypta
using
paper.
the small artist
So
brush
once that's all done,
and
I will
hitting
give it
the
a
high
buff out
points of
after
that.
letting it dry
So
for
that
24
would be
hours, and we'll be
decorated as
good
well.
to go.
I did try the
So
finger,
stay tuned to
not
see the
as
finished
easy.
results soon.
So went back to the artist
Ciao.
brush, and here's the finished product.
Hey everyone, David
I
here
let
from
the
the Five
Gilding
and
Wax
Dime
dry for
Upcycled
24
Furniture
hours, and
Antiques
then I
and
buffed it
Accents.
out.
And
I
this
hope you enjoyed this
beautifully regal
tutorial,
little
and if you have
whimsical
any
chair is
questions,
now
please reach out to me
completed
at
all its glory.
5andDime.ca.
I've named
Have a
her
great day.
Chloe
Ciao.
after my godson's little sister. Have a great day. Available at 5andDime.ca.